That's nice. I have to visit where you live one day. It seems so beautiful.
Please, 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 you have to come. But don't come during the cyclone period, huh? Now we are
No?
in the cyclone, when it's like raining and one time there's the
Oh,
sun.
yeah,
Yeah, it's very,
that's true.
very tropical. And where you are now? Texas?
Yes, in Houston.
Ooh, nice. Have been to Texas.
You've actually been to Texas?
I've been to Fort Worth.
Oh, how did you like it?
Love it. It was like, it was my first time in America. And I was like, for me, Texas, you had like, like the film Texas.
Yeah.
I thought you would see horses on the street, but no.
I know. I saw some horses on the street. Not in Texas. We were a little more further out of Houston, but I saw someone doing that. I was like, "Oh, we're in the South."
You like it where you are.
I do. I really like it. I've been here for about a year and a half now.
Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So from our podcast, so you moved afterwards. Okay.
Yes, yes. I moved shortly after, like probably like 6 months or so after we talked. Sorry, the noise is my cats.
No
They're up to no
worries.
good.
Same. If you hear noises, it might be my cats as well.
Yeah.
So if you want, we can start.
You said what? We can start?
Okay.
Yes.
So Layla, welcome
Yes.
on the podcast of Blah Blah in a Shoe with Grace.
Thank you for having me.
And so I really wanted to have you on the podcast. In fact, I wanted to have you for the 2 years of the podcast in September, but because our schedule, it couldn't
Yeah.
work. But you're still here. Um, you're a special guest because you were one of the first person to trust me. So it was
Hmm.
so special to have you again after 2 years. And
Yeah.
have been following your work a bit
Hmm.
far, that have been following your work, and I saw the growth, and I really wanted to share that growth with people.
Hmm.
When you came 2 years ago, you talked about the whole pole dancing passion, how it helped you tap into your feminine energy. We talked a
Hmm.
bit about the spirituality as well. And
Yes.
during that 2 years, I saw you created an amazing podcast. I
Thank
can't stress enough because really it's I've been listening to it and it really resonated. So I asked the person to just stop now and go and see Garden of Souls on the podcast and come back afterwards.
Yes, please.
Because it's really a jewel, and the amount of wisdom and the fact that you use your life as a testimony of the techniques. I think we will talk about it later, but really keep up that amazing work. So
Thank you so much.
yes,
I feel so good. Thank you.
really it's I think it's a privilege for everyone who will listen to this to have a glimpse of Layla's wisdom. Her amazing heart reflects in her words. So today I wanted to have you just for you to share how it was that 2 years, the transition, and for people to rediscover you or discover you again. And yeah, so to get started, Layla,
Yes.
can you reintroduce yourself? Who is Layla? And yeah, tell us more about you.
Yes, yes. So when we first met, obviously I was pretty much only focused on pole and the area award, but mostly focused on pole. And I love it. I still love it. And it's something pole is a little interesting because I feel like you kind of come and go from it. And I'm like back in it and I love it. And within these past 2 years, I have done a lot. I feel like that's when I really committed to my spiritual journey and sort of just taking my life in my own hands and trying to be like this main character, I guess you could say. And I was living in Long Beach, California for a long time. Within the past 2 years, I decided I was ready for a change. I packed everything up. I quit my job. I moved to Houston with no job. And I just trusted in God. I trusted in the universe. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but I'm going to be doing what I love. And within a week of moving here, everything just aligned so magnificently. It's like insane. So now I'm living a totally different life than what I used to be living. So now I still pole dance, but now I also am a regular dancer, like go-go dancer. I work in nightclubs. I started bartending, and I started my podcast where I talk more about spiritual alchemy and manifestation, and really just getting what you want in life, and really building that relationship with God within yourself. Because I'm very big on God being within you. And when you get to build that relationship with God, just so many blessings come into your life, and everything you've ever wanted just appears, because you're just being obedient, you know. Oh my gosh. Sorry about them. But that is basically my summary of where I'm at in life now.
Great, great. You
Hmm.
said something very interesting. Let's talk a bit about the pole dancing. You told
Hmm.
me one day that, if you didn't start pole dancing, you don't know if that would have brought you into that spiritual path. I would,
Oh
l-
yeah.
yeah, I would love to learn what has been that shift and
Hmm.
that thing that made you go on that path.
It's so interesting because I don't think anyone would think, oh, pole dancing made me more spiritual. It's very weird to say. But what I noticed is I feel like when it comes to spirituality, it's harder, at least from my perspective, to really get involved in a spiritual journey if you're still so focused on the material world, right? Like if we're constantly stressed out, we're working a bunch of jobs, we're just trying to pay rent, you don't really have time to think about life and its purpose. You're just trying to get through the day, And at least that's what it was for me and so many people around me, that I just didn't have time to even think about that or care or really question a lot of what was going on around me. And I felt like, at least with pole, when pole came into my life, it allowed me to have an outlet for a lot of suppressed emotions that I didn't even know were still in me and were still affecting me on a subconscious level in my day to day life. It allowed me to process a lot of things. It allowed me to tap into that feminine energy, because men and women, we all have both feminine and masculine in us. And it helped me balance those energies within myself. And I feel like the more balance you have within yourself, the more you're kind of going to come to spirituality naturally. um, but also, I think being involved with pole and opening up financial opportunities to where I don't have to work 24/7 to keep a roof over my head allowed me to have the time to just sit and be present and really get into my own spiritual practice. It freed me up with time. It helps me with my feminine energy, and it helped me just with processing a lot of things. So it kind of was this natural unfoldment. It was not intentional at all. It just happened. And it's really cool. I didn't expect it, but they do say all paths eventually lead to God, and I guess that's true even for pole dancing. I don't know.
So great. So now we're doing go-go dancing and
Hmm.
experiencing into the night world. So what has been your experience and what I don't know what has changed like with that world?
It's so interesting because before I worked in nightlife, I was not a night person. Like I'm talking, I was a grandma. I'm like in bed by 9 p.m. I'm up at 4 a.m. I was like the girl doing yoga at like 5 in the morning and drinking my tea. And now I'm like sleeping in all the time, and I'm up all night and like kind of partying, I guess you could say. But it's so different, and it's a lot of fun. I'm not going to get you wrong. It's a lot of fun, but it's also something you want to take a break from here and there. The hours are crazy, but you meet so many people. It's really easy to connect. And one thing I've learned about Houston is it's very much like a party city. Um, so it's just easier to meet people, connect with people. And I will say, though, it's definitely a place where you want to have a strong foundation within yourself, because if you don't have discipline or anything. I think it's a world that can really suck you into a lot of dark things. And I'm grateful that I already had my foundation. I have a good head on my shoulders. Like, I'm not going to do certain things that other people are doing, and I'm not judging them. That's their life. But it is a world filled with temptation, and you have to just be strong.
You know what I enjoyed about our podcast on pole dancing?
Mhm,
I saw pole dancing through another perspective, through another.
mhm,
And when my friends saw that podcast as well, because Mauritius is small, and maybe we
mhm.
tend not just Mauritius, but sometimes to have misconception about pole dancing. What she said in that episode, you talked about how it was as a sport, and I think with the love you shared that it reflected in another way. So I
Mhm,
think it was great for you to share about that and to just remove those filters.
mhm.
Um, and how is it like in your surrounding, your friends and everything? So is there that do you see people having stigmas on what you do, or how is it?
I feel like for the most part, no. But also I think because of the environment I'm around now, it's not like the most crazy thing to be doing. Because in nightlife, it's very sorry, my cats again. Distractions. But with nightlife and performance, so even with go-go dancing, like I'm on a team where my boss does a lot of aerial performance. So I'm already kind of integrated in the aerial world out here as well. And I've done some performances myself out here. So because I'm kind of already a part of like entertainment, even as a go-go dancer, I'm still an entertainer. It's not there's no real stigma. It's only if I probably meet someone out of the blue, like on the street, and I casually mention it. Only like once or twice, someone kind of was like, "Oh, like oh, okay, cool," and they're like a little thrown off. But for the most part, people are really open and receptive to it.
So now you're trained. So now
Sorry, I'm listening.
fine. So now you're training to enter more into that aerial world. Can you tell us more
Yeah.
about, because on your Instagram, you share a lot about your pole dancing. So guys, you can have a look at her page. But
Yes.
maybe we will see a bit more about the aerial world. So tell us more about that.
Yes. Yes. And if they're curious, my Instagram's at a world of honey.
Wow.
But I want to dive more into aerial. And this is the thing. It's just a matter of finding the right place to train. What's funny, I don't know if I mentioned this on the first episode, but I was actually interested in aerial more than pole. But
Mhm.
pole was just more convenient to learn because you could just have it set up easily in the apartment. Whereas aerial, you kind of need like a whole rigging setup and you need super high ceilings or you need to be outside. And I don't have a backyard right now. So it's like all these little things. Um, but yes, what I really want to focus on more is aerial hammock and get into aerial lyra. Hold on one second. Anyway, sorry about that.
No, no, that's okay.
So, but yes, I want to get into aerial hammock, aerial hoop, and those are kind of the only two I'm like really focused on right now. And it's just a matter of either finding the rigging to set up and train more, or just getting the extra funds to afford a new aerial membership because those gyms are quite expensive. So once that aligns, that's definitely I'm gonna be committed.
So you are a teacher now. I heard in the podcast that you teach as well. So that's a nice growth. So
Yeah.
you were starting before, like learning and everything, and now you teach. So how has been that whole experience?
Oh my gosh. That's funny. I didn't realize when we first talked I didn't teach yet. So
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. No, I love teaching. It made me realize that so many other women have this same issue of not feeling connected to their feminine energy, especially in today's world. Or at least in America. I don't know. I can't speak about the whole world. But um like there have been times where I'm training women and they'll kind of start to cry a little bit because they just never felt so comfortable in their own skin. They never felt beautiful. They never felt like they could be sexy. It's almost like they were ashamed to be sexy. And, the world can see them as sexy, but then you're constantly shamed for acknowledging the fact, hey, I actually do look kind of good. And for them to take their power back in that way and feel good in their skin was just, it made me feel like I'm here doing what I'm supposed to do. This is one of my purposes in life. And also just seeing that confidence grow in the sense that like first session they're like a little scared to like take off their shirt and like be in their sports bra, but then like a few sessions in they're just whipping it off like woo, let's go. So I love it. It really just fills my heart and it makes me feel like I am making a positive difference in a lot of people's lives and making them more confident and love themselves and feel good. So I love it. I love it. I took a little bit of a break, but I'm actually getting back into teaching right now. So I'm excited.
Great, great, amazing. Um,
Yes.
Now I want to talk a bit about your podcast.
Hmm.
Really, Garden of Salt. Why Garden of Salt? Why that name?
Yes, I know it's such an interesting little name. So the reason why I chose Garden of Salt is because I started my spiritual journey learning about alchemy, spiritual alchemy. And with alchemy, they talk about the sulfur and they talk about, see, I'm blanking, but it's an alchemical term when you mix sulfur and what is it called again? Why am I blanking? It's chemicals and it turns into salt basically once you sort of merge the masculine and the feminine energies and you get that philosopher's stone. Sometimes it's referred to as salt in a lot of alchemical texts. So because I wanted it to be a podcast more focused on alchemy, but also still kind of do this play of words of like Garden of Eden, because it is still like a spiritual podcast, I decided to just name it Garden of Salt. I wasn't going to name it that, but it was hard to find like an Instagram name that wasn't taken with all the stuff I wanted. So I just ended up finding that one and I stuck with it. So it's kind of just like a play on that. And then so I thought it would be fun to merge like Garden of Eden and then mention the salt reference because I talk about alchemy, but I also make a lot of biblical references as well. So the worlds kind of collide. So that's why I named it Garden of Salt. But it's all about sort of that union, that divine union within yourself and coming home to the garden, coming home to paradise sort of thing.
I really love your podcast because it talks about, the importance of being mindful
Hmm.
of life, of our surroundings, of who we let in our lives, how to keep our standards high in terms of jobs and relationship and friendship. And really, I I rarely listen to one person podcast. I love when they are guests, but your
Hmm.
podcasts, one, they are short but packed with wisdom, and
Hmm.
really the subject that you talk about is really amazing. So there's the podcast about being cringe. There's one about you cannot serve two masters. I was really it really resonated with me. So
Hmm.
and it got me thinking. I was like, how does she absorb all of this knowledge and all, because the way you share it, it's I don't know, it speaks to us. So I'd love to
Thank
know
you.
what's your routine like? How do you manage to have that discipline and gather all of this knowledge?
You know, it's interesting. I feel like sometimes I might be getting little nuggets from other people. It could be something as simple as like scrolling on TikTok and like say one thing, and I'm like, wait, that just made me have like this epiphany, and then I can break it down in a different way. Or honestly, though, I feel like so many of my topics and ideas come from me just meditating. I'm really big, and I have podcast episodes on that and how I feel like the best way to communicate with God. Like if I feel that I have this, one of my purposes is to share what I talk about, then that means it's something I'm supposed to be doing. And instead you know what? Sorry, I'm gonna be jumping around a bit, but this all makes sense. There was one time when this was first revealed to me years ago, maybe like over 2 years ago. I felt like God was wanting me to talk about things like this, and I wasn't really sure how. I'm like, well, I don't know what to say. Like, who's gonna listen to me? I don't know if I'm gonna say the right things. And then I ended up coming across this random like Bible verse or Bible scripture. And I don't remember, I wish I had it written down in my notes because it just blew my mind. And when I read it was as I was thinking, like, I don't know what I'm going to say. Like, what am I supposed to say? And it was something about God talking to some guy in the Bible. And he was saying how it doesn't matter what you say, for I'm going to speak through you, or something like that. Like, I'm choosing you for a reason. Like, don't worry about what you're going to say. So I was like, okay. And I still didn't commit to it yet. I didn't start the podcast like a year after getting that message. But that's when I started really taking my meditation seriously. And sometimes I could literally just be meditating and I'll get an idea. And when it starts to flow and I just allow God to sort of like say whatever needs to be said, sometimes it feels like it's almost not even coming from me. You know, it's like I'm just in the zone and it's just flowing out because I'm in such a meditative state that I really couldn't tell you where I'm getting it from other than just me meditating and surrendering to whatever has to come out of my mouth.
Like
You
deep,
know?
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
discernment.
It
Um,
just feels like I'm in a way.
it's really interesting, and the fact that you share. So let's tell people. So your podcast is about us having the power to manifest anything in our life, and
Hmm.
we are able to create things and not to fear. Like everything is in us. So tell us
Yes.
more about because there's something very interesting that I loved. You said like when you went to Houston, I think you took a super big risk because you didn't have a job and you had like a blind faith in
Yes.
whatever was coming. And I think that this is like a thread throughout all of your episodes. It's like us,
Yeah.
yeah, having like that faith, just go and do whatever you want to do. Tell us more about that. Because I think
Yes.
it's so amazing.
Yes. Yes. So that's one thing that, and I try to tell people, it's like you can manifest, but when I tell you, I feel like, at least in my life, I feel like I had to have radical faith, like to the point where people are like, you're actually insane. You need to be locked away because you're crazy. Like, who would move to another state and just have no job lined up? I could have had a job, but I meditated on it. I prayed, I asked God, and I'm like, I just don't want to do this. Like, what's the point of going to another state to do the same thing I'm always doing, you know? And this is the thing. I'm not going to say to just do whatever and be crazy. Always, always, always pray about it first and ask for a sign. And if you get a clear sign, clear as day, then you have to just trust God and do it. Even if you're so scared. I was terrified out of my mind. Even just, I drove here, by the way. Like, I've never driven that far, but I was like, God said it's going to be okay. I have to overcome these fears. And like, just putting the ultimate faith in God in that way. And then when everything works out, you just feel like, it's just the
Yeah.
most amazing thing. So that's why I want to tell my story. And I do feel like my life is a testimony because I don't share anything unless I've done it myself. I'm not someone that's going to tell you to do something unless I know it has actually worked for me. But the key is, oh my gosh, the key is faith. Cleo, please, can you stop? I'm so sorry about her.
Worry.
But yes, that's it. I'm gonna mute you for a sec while you say something.
That's okay. You want to go? Yeah, you can.
Okay, I'm gonna keep making noise. I was like, I'm gonna mute myself for a second, but she's done.
Okay. It's all about the blind faith
And
and
ask for a sign first. Like, I would never tell anyone to just do it and not listen to your intuition. Like, for example, like, quick story, when I decided to come to Houston, I asked God for a sign. I was like, God, if I'm going to be doing everything I want, I'm going to love my life, I'm going to be doing what I love for a living, then show me a yellow butterfly. It was so random. I was like, show me a yellow butterfly. And I let it go. I detached from it. And then, literally, not even 2 minutes later, a yellow butterfly flew and was floating in front of my face. I'm sorry, hold on one sec. The cats. Okay, they are being so bad today. Gosh, I'm so sorry.
That's,
She's literally
I have,
jumping on the counter. Never before.
I have to, maybe she wants attention,
I know. I need to get them a cat tree, and hopefully that'll make them like
Yeah.
stop jumping on everything.
Yes, um, you were saying
But
about the
yes, I saw the yellow butterfly. I saw a yellow butterfly not even 2 minutes later, and it took time to like be right here in front of my face. And I like there's no way that's coincidence. And for me, I was like, okay. I like cried a little bit, like tears of joy. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited for what's about to come. And I just trusted in God. And what's even more beautiful is on the drive over here, I kept seeing nothing but yellow butterflies. Like
Wow.
it just felt like confirmation, like you're on the right path. Just keep the faith. I know you're scared. We're almost there. And then about 5 days into me moving here, I got my new job and just everything worked out and it was amazing. So that's what I mean by having that radical faith. Like once you get an answer, just do it, even if it scares the crap out of you.
Okay. But when I'm talking about me, sometimes
Hmm.
when you want to, try to have like blind faith, you have like
Hmm.
these little voices, they say, oh no, it won't happen. But how come you build like, I don't know, if a way of thinking that
Hmm.
helps you to have that radical faith because it can be difficult.
Definitely. And honestly, I think for me, it's just the more you take those little risks and trust in God, it quiets those voices. Because I was the same way. And I feel like instead you don't have to make something crazy like, should I just move to another country or something? But like start small and just like talk to God, like have God show you that he's there and he's real. And I just think the more you do those little things, you'll be like, okay, once you understand like God is the one spirit in your life that will never lie to you, that will never trick you, that will never play you, that actually loves you and wants the best for you, then all those little voices just go quiet. And then you just learn to only listen to that voice. And it's a process. It's not something that happens overnight. But once you keep doing it, I don't really have that fear anymore. Like sometimes it comes in and then I'm like, no, no, no. God knows what's best for me. Like I like override those thoughts.
Yeah. And there was an episode where you said we have to transmute all types of energy, whether negative or positive. And this, I think I think that was the first time I heard someone saying, use all that negative energy because they are a
Yeah.
gift. And please,
Yeah.
I would love for you to share that on this episode because I think this needs to be shared.
No, yes, because it was something that never hit me before. And this was actually something, a little nugget I got from someone else. I saw like a random TikTok video and I was like, oh my God, I never even thought to do that. And I actually tried it out for a bit and I did start to see like an increase in some of my growth. I saw an increase in certain things because it's like once I realized, because at this point I already made an episode about how to manifest with negative emotions, but it was using my own negative emotions, my own energy. So I never thought to use someone else's. And once you take away, like, I don't think the world is just like good or bad, everything's black and white. Like, once you realize energy is just energy all across the board and it doesn't have to have a label, you can use whatever energy is thrown your way and turn it into something good for yourself. I think we do ourselves a disservice when we try to label everything as good or bad and like, oh, return to sender or like, I don't want that negative energy. It's like, it's just energy. Like, don't put a name on it. And if you have the power of God within you, that means you have the power to turn whatever you want into something beautiful for your life. So instead of wasting it and just like sending it back to wherever, why not use that as like some momentum for your own life and your own growth?
And how do
You
you
know,
do this? I know you do like words of wisdom, like you repeat. So can you
it's
share a
definitely,
bit about
yes, it's definitely just the power of the tongue and the power of the mind. And the Bible talks about that, right? Jesus talks about it, how basically we hold the power of life with our tongue.
oh,
but So once you just claim it, it's so much power is just in our words and our thoughts and what we constantly tell ourselves. So if you say something enough times, it doesn't matter if it's true or false, it's going to become fact in your reality. So if you tell yourself that everything's always working out for you, or whatever energy is sent your way is turned into more blessings and prosperity and love over your life, eventually that's just going to become a thing. Like that's just what it is. So it's really just the power of the tongue and keeping your mind focused on what you actually want and what you feel is the life that you deserve. So if I want a certain life, it's like any energy thrown my way, it's just is transmuted into more abundance and prosperity over my life. And that's just is what it is. It's really that simple. I think we overthink a lot of things and it's really just all in our heads.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what's beautiful. That's what's beautiful about it is like, I mean, think about it. If we have the power of God, right? God created everything by just speaking it.
Yeah, true.
Let there be light.
Mm-hmm.
Like God didn't have to do anything. He's like, I want some trees over there. Boom, there they are. So it's like we overthink it. And it's really just as simple as saying what we want and believing we deserve it and allowing it to come to us.
Yeah.
And it's just that simple. Yeah. We make life so much harder.
Yeah. And there's that episode where you said, be like a flower, be like a bird, just be. And yeah, just be. Like everything has a purpose, and we should take that leap of faith. And you said something like, fear is a scam.
Mm-hmm. It is. And the Bible talks about that too. God did not give us a heart with fear. So the fear, I like to think of it as this way. Like, and I mentioned this in that episode too, the whole be like a flower, is if we are all given a purpose and something to do and we just do it, then everything we need is going to come to us. And the reason why things don't work out properly is because we think too much. And because our mind and our words are powerful, we end up messing up so much for ourselves. So, like, my analogy, like, I don't like when it comes to the Garden of Eden and when we ate from the tree of good and evil, my whole philosophy of that is like, whatever we know is what will be. So, if we only knew good, that is why we were in paradise. That's why we were in the Garden of Eden. But once we realized that bad exists and had negative thoughts, that's when all of a sudden we're cast out. You see what I mean? It's just because we knew. If we never knew about anything negative, we never knew about fear, we never knew about worry, we would still be in paradise because that's how powerful our thoughts are. It's all to me just like this analogy for our minds. And if we just decide to train our minds to think more positively, no, everything does work out for me. No, this is my purpose. Everything's going to work out. God knows my bills are due. My bills are going to get due. I mean, my bills are going to get paid. Everything's taken care of. I'm going to have food. I'm going to have a roof over my head. All of my needs are always met every time. And you just keep telling yourself that enough, it just starts to happen because now your mind is flooded with the good, but if you keep stressing and worrying, then you're never going to experience that paradise. You're not going to experience that Garden of Eden. At least that's the way I think. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying my philosophy is correct, but to me, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I cannot stress how amazing that podcast is.
Thank you so much.
Because each episode, I'm like baffled. I'm like, I never thought about that. Oh yes,
Mm-hmm.
sense. And no, yeah, it's keep up that amazing work because it is having impact on people. Like it's having impact on me, and maybe my ways of doing things will change, and it will have impact on other people. So you don't see your impact because it's reaching
Mm-hmm.
people. So keep up that amazing work. And I'm just thinking about something else. You had an episode about karma is not real.
Oh yes, that one's more controversial.
That's so because it makes sense. You said like we create our own reality. If we think that karma exists, eventually we will see the fruit. But
exactly.
if we think it doesn't, It won't, because we create our own reality. And it makes so much sense what you said. And can you tell us a bit more about
Yeah.
that?
So what inspired that episode? I was actually watching an episode of Supernatural, and it's this show that I haven't finished it, but it's pretty good if you're into like that type of like ghost type of things, but it's a good show. And there was an episode where there was Osiris, who was an Egyptian god, and he would like weigh your heart against a feather, and that would determine if you like go to heaven or not, or you go to the underworld. But in the episode, he determines like it's not about what you've done that will determine if you go to heaven or hell. It's about it weighs the guilt on your heart. And guilt is self-imposed. Like you can only make yourself feel guilty. And I thought that was interesting. And even in the show, they mentioned like, wait, so if you don't feel guilty, like you're good, like you're not. And he's like, yeah, it's just about guilt. And I was like, that's so interesting because I'd heard a couple people in my life say they don't believe in karma. And I was such a karma person, always. And once I really thought about it, and you look at people, and not that they're good examples, but you look at people who are like narcissists, or you look at these like heartless CEO billionaire people, it's like, where's their karma? How come they just get to keep getting richer and richer and living the life they want? And once you realize they don't feel bad, they don't have any guilt, they don't care, they probably feel they deserve to be this ultra billionaire for whatever reason. And not that it's right or wrong, but one thing to learn from them is like, maybe karma isn't real, because why do all these people still exist? Why do people still get people who've ever done you wrong? How come they get to live a happy life right now? So it's just like people who get their karma, I feel like are people who genuinely felt guilty about whatever they did, and people who never seem to get their karmas because they don't feel guilt and they justify it, right? Like if someone did you wrong and you decided to get revenge, you're not going to feel bad for getting revenge. You're like, they deserved it. This is their karma. So that's why nothing's going to happen to you for doing it, because you in your head feel like you're justified. But if you didn't feel that way, then probably something would end up happening to you because you feel that you need to pay for what you've done. So it is a weird concept, but once you do realize it's all in our head, and unless I feel I deserve to be punished for something, or someone feels they deserve that, nothing's going to happen.
Oh, it makes
It's
sense.
really weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it really makes sense.
But I know that one's a little more controversial because some people's religions like revolve around karma. So it's like, but that's just how my belief.
Mhm.
Hmm.
But it got me thinking. It got me thinking.
Hmm.
And I was like, mm.
It
That's
is weird though.
but that's interesting because we create our own reality.
Hmm.
So yeah. And
Yeah.
mhm. And I wanted to ask you something. You said you do meditation, and
Hmm.
you do meditation. I want to know, what's your routine? Like,
Yes.
what's your spiritual routine to help you have that discipline and, do your podcast, do your pole dancing, work at night. So I think there needs to be a skeleton. How do you
Yeah.
yeah, how do you manage all that?
Yes. So when it comes to certain things, like with pole, I'm not really on a routine with that. That I just allow that to come to me when I'm feeling inspired or I want to dance. But with meditation, that is something I really try to do every day. I don't succeed at it every day, but I do work on it consistently. And the reason why is because I feel like that's what just keeps me in alignment and keeps me on the right path. So when I meditate, I honestly like to sort of do it whenever I have time. Sometimes it could just be randomly, or it's like I kind of like to do it around sunset, like as the sun is winding down, and I kick the cats out of the room. They cannot distract me. I close the door. Sometimes I'll play a little meditation music, or sometimes I'm in complete silence. I might light a little incense to sort of like get the vibe going. And I honestly just lay down, usually on my bed, just chill out. And I don't like to set an intention for my meditation other than just to be present and meditate. Because I feel like if I expect something to happen, then I'm kind of forcing it and it doesn't really work out that way. So just allow, like, I feel like with meditation, it's all about like surrendering, learning to quiet your mind and just see what appears, see what comes to you. Sometimes I've had amazing ideas during meditations. Sometimes I end up just visualizing what I want to manifest during a meditation. Sometimes I feel I have these really cool, like spiritual experiences that were really random and unexpected. So you never know what you're going to get. So I just like to remain open, and I literally just lay there, close my eyes. And then when thoughts pop up that are kind of invasive, I just let them pass. I don't like hold on to them and get wrapped up in the story. I just be present. And that's it until I feel I'm ready to stop. So I try to meditate for like an hour
Mm.
if I can. I have never meditated more than an hour. I don't think so. Maybe like an hour and a half is the most I've done. But some people meditate, they can go like hours and hours. And I'm like, I've never done that. But one day I want to try it
If you
out.
time, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's my routine with meditation. And it's been nice. I feel like I always benefit from it in some way.
Yeah, because I did a meditation during the COVID moment, and it
Hmm.
really I think life changing because I had a lot of anxiety, palpitations. But when I started meditation, it changed my life. Like I was
Yeah.
all inside, but with the routine when you're back to work, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
I know that I left it a bit aside. And that's something I want to have again because you are a different person, I think, when you do meditation. You have
Oh,
that
yeah.
awareness of the moment.
You know what I read about meditation is that really what it's doing is sort of like re-regulating your body. So I think when you just go present and like chill, like your body, because your body knows what to do. Like if you're feeling anxious, you're feeling this anxiety, it's like your body knows how to calm itself down. And instead of you trying to force it, you're allowing your body to do its thing. And I think that's why also when we meditate more consistently, that's when we're just in alignment with everything because our becomes in alignment. Our mind starts to become in alignment. And now when we're out in the world, it's like things just come to you easily. Like I feel like things literally sometimes like minutes after a meditation, like something will appear to me. I remember I had a meditation recently about this new job. I wasn't even thinking about this job I was trying to get. And I just ended up having a little morning meditation session. I completely forgot about the job. I was like, I don't think they're gonna call me back. Like I let it go. I was a little bummed, but I was like, whatever. If it's meant to be, it'll be. And then after my meditation, like 5 minutes later, I got a message like, hey, can you come in for an interview? And I was like, it's like maybe part of me just meditating is what allowed that to just happen, because I got out of my head, stopped trying to force it. And it's like, if it's meant to be, it'll be. So I hope you get back into meditating more consistently because it just makes life easier. You feel better
Mhm.
and better.
You have that awareness in the present moment, and you
Mm,
just sometimes stop and see around you. Yeah, it's definitely something to rekindle.
absolutely.
Yeah. And yes, I wanted to ask you something. So when
Hmm.
doing, your meditation, building a routine that is meant for you, um,
Hmm.
I think sometimes that's when you will attract, I don't know, see negativity a lot around you. I don't know, people,
Oh yeah.
maybe things, whatever. How do you put your boundaries? How do you know how to put your boundaries? And what do you do in order to, put those energy vampires aside? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes. This one was recent for me within like the last year because I was always so nice and I was just kind of like too nice in a way, too quiet. Like, say if an energy vampire comes my way, I would just not know how to get out of the situation, and then I just end up drained. But honestly, I just can I cuss on this?
Yeah, you're free.
Okay. Because honestly, I've just decided to embrace my bitchiness. And the reason why is because I feel like we all have like that nice and like mean inside of us. And I just always suppress the mean girl.
Mhm.
But sometimes, like once you realize like your shadow self or whatever, like it's there to help you sometimes, and to just be friends with it, and just let her out sometimes when people
Mhm.
are trying you. And it's like you don't always have to be mean, but just be more assertive. If someone is crossing a boundary, you can either just remove yourself, like don't care about their feelings, like stop being so considerate about everyone else's feelings. Like this is about you, like this is your life, this is your story. And if someone's coming into your life trying to take your energy or trying to disrespect you in some way, either remove yourself, remove them, like tell them straight up, hey, I'm not cool with this. This is my boundary. Or just being more assertive and not caring so much whether that person's going to stay in your life or not. Because once you surrender to like God's plan for your life, oh my gosh. Say hi. Once
Hello.
you surrender to God's plan for your life, you realize people who are in your life are meant to be there, and people who go are going to go. So it's like I'm not scared to lose anyone anymore. Even if it's like a friend, if they're disrespecting me, I'm gonna make my boundaries clear. Or if it's like a random person, say I'm at work and they're just talking my ear off, just draining me. I'm like, I really gotta go right now. I will cut them off in the middle of a sentence. I gotta go. I can't talk. But it was nice talking to you. Bye. Like you don't have to always be mean, but don't sit there and take it, you know? Like it's always up to you. At any moment you can cut someone off and choose yourself over them.
Mhm.
Girl.
You see, she wants to be on
Literally.
the podcast. I told you she
Mwah.
had your attention. Oh, so cute. You know,
Goodness.
I was thinking like we're already in November.
Mhm.
I think this year flew by so quickly. Uh,
Yes.
like if you have to reflect on that year, what's the biggest lesson or takeaway you think you can take from that year?
Oh my God, it was such a crazy year. I would say my biggest lesson and takeaway is to always, no matter what, listen to your intuition, because it's never lying to you. It's never lying. And you don't know if like God is protecting you from something small or something big. But when you get that gut feeling, obey it. I did not obey it earlier this year, and I ended up in some mess that I can't even talk about. But it taught me a very valuable lesson, and it brought me closer to God. And so I'm grateful for everything. I feel like regardless, everything still works out in my favor. But just listen to your gut, no matter what. What about you? What's your biggest lesson?
What's my biggest takeaway? Wow. That's always difficult.
It is, right?
What's my biggest takeaway? I think yeah, sometimes I want to do something, but I have like a fear or I will think twice. But now what I do is I just jump. I don't give myself the time to think. I
I
don't
love
know if
that.
it's a good or bad thing, but whenever I see myself reflecting, oh, should I do it? Should I not? Oh, what will happen? It's like there's that monologue that goes and it stops
Yeah.
from doing things. So now what I do, I want to do something, I just send an email or contact that
Yeah.
person or just do it. So the biggest takeaway for me for that year is like, just do it.
I love that. And that's a really good thing to follow. Like again, and if your gut is telling you it's okay that first time, don't second guess it. Just
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
Hmm.
I think that would be the biggest one.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And to 2024 is in 2 months. Like,
That's ins-
wow,
that's actually insane.
that's insane.
Where
So
did the time go?
we don't know what will unfold for you. So the last time we talked about pole dancing, then with
Hmm.
those 2 years you created a podcast. You told me you want to write. So what are your long-term goals that you want to share with us?
I feel like, and they may change because who knows, but there are a few goals I have. For one, I do want to open my own aerial gym. So I would love to have a spot. So probably out in Houston, or we'll see if I end up moving. I don't know, but I like it here so far. I would love to have my own aerial gym. And I would definitely expect to still be doing the podcast and for it to keep growing. And yes, I expect to be an author. I've started writing a book. Can't talk about
Mm.
it now. And I just see that that's more like that long term sort of community I might end up having, especially as the podcast grows, because I want the books to be kind of the stuff that I talk about on the podcast. So it's very fitting. And to just keep doing aerial, keep performing as long as I can, as long as I'm healthy and able. And that's just it. I love performing. I love traveling. I love talking and I love writing. So I just expect to do all of that.
You still have your website, you still like update it with, so people can still go and see everything that you're doing on your
Yes,
website, right?
yes, yes. I'll have my website up for my A World of Honey one and Garden of Saw. I have two different websites now. So people can go up there. I also have like a little book recommendation list, like certain books I've read that helped change my life. Um, I put the latest podcast episodes on there, stuff like that.
So all the links will be down below.
Yes.
And please, when you will have that book, you should come back
Yes.
to the podcast to share about
I,
it.
I will. I'll even send you a copy.
So nice. We will keep that a tradition, right?
Yes, we will.
But thank you so much, Layla. I was super happy to have you again and for you to share, that 2 years and your growth and now your podcast. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
your time. But please, people, I really, really recommend Garden of Salt. What I do is I listen to it whilst I'm going to work, and when
I
I'm
love
getting back, and yeah, it's so soothing and it's like a friend who talks to you, but really amazing. Keep up that amazing work on the podcast, and we invite people to check it out. It's on iTunes. No, it's on
and Spotify
Spotify.
and Google. Yeah, it should be on pretty much any
Ready.
podcast. I also have
YouTube. Okay. Yeah.
mhm.
So you have your episodes on YouTube as well, or you do other videos?
I have my episodes on YouTube and that's where I like record myself. So you'll actually see me talking
Ah,
too.
great. I have to check this out. Nice. But do you have anything you want to, maybe a last word you want to say or anything? Tell us anything, your last word.
I don't know. I want to thank you for having me again. I'm always honored and I think it's just cool to see the growth and yeah, I'm just very happy. I'm in a good place right now and I don't know. I just hope anyone listening just remembers that the power is within themselves and to just be more fearless.
Yeah.
Be more fearless in life.
Thank you. See
Thank
you.
you so much for having me.
Great. Bye.
Bye.